Now we're going to just have you talk me through teaching me some of the basics on how the heck do I taxi this thing? Or what is taxiing, first of all, and what are these things with my feet? Do I drive it like a car or what?
Right. All right, so basically as we're taxiing, we're getting from, maybe the FBO to the end of the runway so we're able to take off. And as we're going to do that, we're going to primarily use our rudders, so basically using our feet. We got toe brakes at the top, so if you need to brake or slow down, you go ahead and push with your toes. But if you're just kind of cruising and just needing to steer and stay on center line, which is this stripe right here in the middle, you'll just go ahead and kind of, more heels on the ground and just kind of maneuvering and steering with that, right? So if you need to go to the right, you kind of put a little bit more right foot in and then go into the left, a little bit of left, and then you kind of balance it as you need. Typically don't like to ride the brakes as we're kind of cruising, so I'll kind of get going here. Doesn't need much, maybe like 1100, 1200 RPM just to kind of get going. You can kind of drop it back. So I got a little bit of right rudder in. What I'm looking for is this little dip in the cowling. I kind of want to line the center up, and it's going to be a little bit different for your sight picture depending on how high you or how tall you are and where you're sitting, whether it's a left or right seat. But that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see this center line stripe kind of hit that dip in the cowling, at least for me, and then having it roll right around my left leg, and that kind of keeps me right on center line. For you, it's going to be more of your right leg, right, and on the other side, since we're kind of trying to make it more centered, right? And then the main thing I'm using for, right now it's wind's calm, but I would be using the yoke as I'm taxiing, and what you're going to be doing is some crosswind correction as or taxi, wind correction. So if it's, got a quartering tailwind coming from there, you're going to kind of dive away. So you're going to push forward and then dive away from it, right? So that could be one of them. And so it really just kind of depends on where you're taxiing. Maybe you were taxiing back after landing, right, and we're going back into a headwind. In that case, you're just kind of, again, going toward the wind, right? So if it's coming from over here, you'll kind of just, mimic it by going into the wind, right? Aileron into the wind.
Okay.
And so, so we just kind of keep it nice and slow. Typically, maybe they say a walking pace, but I'd say, maybe around 15 knots. I'm here on the ground speed isn't too bad. It's kind of a comfortable. You don't want to be going too fast, right?
Yeah.
And you also don't really necessarily want to be crawling.
Cool. Yeah, I like everything you said. You kind of mentioned something about not riding the brakes. I like to teach people. So put the ball of your feet. So you got brakes, right?
Yep, I got the brakes.
Ball of your feet kind of on the rudders as you're taxiing around, and you're happy with whatever speed you're taxiing at.
Yep.
Keeping them down there so that my toes aren't up on the toe brake. So I like that. And then obviously if you've got the power, down around idle, and you're getting a little bit too fast, then you can just shift the toes up. Apply the toe brakes, they're differential toe brakes, so you can apply one and not the other. If you were needing to kind of turn, that'll help you there too.
Yep.
But then, otherwise, as you're taxiing around, we don't want to be taxiing around pushing like this, because we're, maybe whether we're intending on hitting brake pressure or not, we may be having some kind of passive brake pressure that's unnecessary. And just riding the brakes a little bit constantly. So if you're not actually trying to slow down, then just shift your toes down, where you're just pushing through the balls of your foot on that rubber pad to steer, instead of just riding the brakes all the time. So I like that stuff.
Right.
Cool. But we can roll on, and you can kind of teach me a normal takeoff. What do crosswind corrections look like, and what does everything look like as we're rolling on?
Cool. Sounds good. All right, so I'm just double checking. It looks like we're clear on final. This guy might be coming in. I haven't heard anything on the radio, so probably not. But we're looking good, so. Tail traffic goes 509, taking the active runway, and going to take off from runway 36. Going to make left traffic. Terrell.
Good.
So I'm letting everyone know, even though it doesn't look like anyone's listening, what I'm doing, right? So as I come across everything up, follow the checklist, full mixture, AC off, clear on final, still being visual. I'm going to get lined up on center line. Verify I'm runway 36. Looking at my magnetic compass, looking good. I'm going to smoothly apply full power. Using the rudders to maintain center line, so I'm having more right rudder right now.
Yeah, we got hills on the floor.
Airspeed alive. Gauge is in the green. I'm waiting for 60. Right now we don't have any winds calm, so I'm not really doing much as far as ailerons go. There's 60, so I'm rotating. And then I'm right about 10 degrees of pitch. Is usually pretty good for maintaining about 76 knots. And then just making sure to stay coordinated and maintain runway heading.
Okay.
And also to guard the throttle, make sure it's full power.
Yeah. Anything happens close to the ground, we want to be able to have our hands right next to
Yep.
all of our controls that we have, and one of the big ones is power. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll stay in the pattern, then you can teach me a normal landing.
All right. All right, so then there's 1200, 300 below TPA. We can start at that turnout.
Tail traffic to us 509, turning left crosswind for runway 36, tail traffic.
All right, so normal landing. Basically, we're in the downwind right now. What I'm looking to do is about 2000 to 2100 RPM. Good about power setting for the downwind, kind of maintaining about 90 knots, and TPA, which is 1500.
Okay.
I'm liking the distance, so from my perspective, I can kind of match the runway to just off of the stall strip, and that's usually pretty good for me over here in the right seat. Might be a little bit different for you, but
Okay.
but yeah, I'm liking the distance.
Yeah, me too.
Next thing I'm looking for is A, B, my touchdown points. So either the 1,000-footers or the numbers are kind of somewhere in between. We'll go ahead and start to drop the power. Back to about 1,500. And we'll go first notch flaps, and then we're pitching for about 85. You're kind of looking over your back shoulder once it kind of gets about 45 degrees.
Downwind runway 36 still.
From you can kind of make that left base turn.
Tail traffic to us 509, turning left base for runway 36, tail traffic.
Then you go ahead and add your second notch flaps, and you're looking for about 75 knots of airspeed. Keeping that nose down. Last flap.
Tail traffic to us 509, turning final for runway 36, tail traffic.
So you're pitching for airspeed, power for altitude.
Good.
Right now we're looking maybe a little high, looking all right as far as airspeed, 72. Trying to maintain center line, so you're using your rudders to make sure that you are maintaining center line, and then you're kind of, or you're keeping the nose right parallel to the runway.
Silver Springs traffic,
And any ailerons for any crosswind correction, but again, we got a pretty calm day, so pretty smooth. So we're looking like, yeah, it's about 70 degrees. Sorry, 70 knots of airspeed coming into ground effect. Power idle.
Tail traffic Sirius 256, Tango Romeo.
We're just bleeding off.
36 still.
Stall, 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 stall.
And then applying full braking. Touch and go?
Good. Yeah, we can do touch and go.
Alright. Draw the flaps out. Full power. There's 60.
Okay, cool. I want to have you teach me one now as I fly it. So my controls.
Alright, your controls.
My controls. So something else you could kind of add in there is teach them to trim for every leg. So
Okay.
they're pitching for their airspeed, doing this, right?
And then trim
But
it out,
they're using
yeah.
this to relieve the pressure in their hand from having to push forward pressure
Yeah.
or full back pressure, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Cool, so we're getting established in the downwind here, so we're looking to keep that TPA 1500. And go ahead and I usually like about 2000 to 2100 RPM.
Sirius 6 Tango Romeo clearing at Charlie, taxi back.
And we're looking for about 90 knots on the airspeed.
Tail traffic does 509 left downwind 36, touch and go, Terrell.
Cool, we're looking good. I like the distance.
Yeah, so whenever you teach that, I like that you're trying to use that too. Make sure that you there's caveats to it, right? So the wings need to be level and you need to be at TPA, or otherwise the sight picture isn't going to make any sense.
Right.
As far as where the runway is in relation to where it's going underneath the wing, whether you talk about rivet lines or the stall strip, whatever.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. So as we're getting A-beam, our touchdown point, go ahead and drop power back 1500. You can go ahead and add a notch flap. We're below 102.
Okay.
And you're pitching for about 85 knots.
Okay. I need to pitch up.
Yeah, not that much though, just a little bit. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so just tell them to keep it at the horizon. As you pull the power out, the airspeed's going to come to you.
Okay. Cool.
And then as it gets there, you can kind of let the nose come down to capture it.
Yeah. All right, then once you got about 45 degrees behind you for your touchdown point, cool. Add another notch of flap, and then yeah, you're looking for about 80 knots.
Okay. Tail traffic goes 509, left base 436, touch and go, Terrell.
There you go. Everything's up. All right, and then this last leg for final, adding that last notch of flaps. You're looking for about 70. Go ahead and keep that nose down. There you go.
Yeah,
You want to keep that airspeed.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let them do that, because they might.
Yeah.
That first turn and that second turn, especially that second turn to final, is dangerous, right? Don't let them, if you have to, keep that nose from popping up.
Right. All right, cool. Yeah, so start to bleed off a little bit of that airspeed.
Traffic goes 509, short final 36, touch and go, Terrell.
Nice, and I'm getting a little bit more on center line, so I'll go to the right a little bit more. A little bit more right here. There you go. All right, and then gently as we ground effect. So transition to start slowly pulling that nose up.
Stall.
A little bit more right rudder.
Stall. Stall.
Perfect. Yeah, so basically on that one, I think the biggest thing was just coming in from base to final, making sure that nose is...
Traffic, Taylor, traffic 519, cross cover midfield for left downwind 19, Silver Springs.
Yeah, keeping that nose down, right?
Okay.
Maintaining that airspeed as we're coming in on final.
Cool. All right, your controls?
My controls.
Your controls. And just kind of teach me, basically, as we're climbing out, how we climb, what does the attitude look like as we're climbing away, and then you can kind of talk me through straight and level flight when we get there and all those things.
Okay. So I'll make a left crosswind departure?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right.
Tail traffic goes 509, going to make a left crosswind departure to the west. Tail traffic. Tail traffic, Sirius 256, Tango Romeo, departing runway 36, left close traffic, Charles. Bring.
All right, so we're heading out from Terrell. Essentially what we're doing here is we're just climbing out. We're looking for 76, typically our takeoff climb speed, right, so VY. We're looking for about maybe 10 degrees pitch up. And yeah, so as far as your visual sight picture goes, you're gonna probably lose sight of the horizon, at least just initially in front of you. So you'll be able to see it out here, so you can kind of tell if you look off to the side, then you look off in front of you, you do have like that nose up attitude, about maybe 10 degrees.
Okay.
We got full power in. And then as we start to approach our 2000, so our cruising altitude, we'll go ahead and start to pitch the nose down. We'll start to regain airspeed. And then we got, some trim in here, so we'll go ahead and put some nose down trim in there to kind of equalize it. Not have to work so hard. And as the airspeed kind of creeps up to cruising, we'll go drop it back to about 2300, a nice kind of cruising RPM.
Silver Springs traffic, Skyhawk 69 Lima.
Get that trim set up, and then so now we can actually see the horizon again. And then if we're kind of looking at it just from a visual point of view, we do look pretty straight and level at this point, and then I would confirm that with the instruments here. We're looking pretty good. Cool. Maybe climbing up a little bit, so we'll get the nose down, get back to 2000. And yeah, basically at this point, like you want to be able to have your trim and power set, so then that way very little controls are needed. Maybe right now a little bit more nose down trim. But you shouldn't be having to grip it or be, you know, having to like pull back and have a bunch of pressure on it. So once you especially get to cruise especially, you let it kind of settle in here.
Good. A couple other things maybe you could consider mentioning whenever you're talking about that kind of stuff. As you're leveling off and you're building that airspeed, you end up getting on the front side of the power curve, right?
Yeah.
Where you're pitching for your altitude now and your power for your airspeed.
Traffic, Sierra 256.
And then until you get slower, down lower in your airspeeds, right?
Yeah.
And once you're coming in for landing, where we're on that lower side of the power curve,
Yeah.
is where we're going to start pitching for our airspeed and power for our altitude. Right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, you can kind of throw that in there a little bit. Let's see what else. Oh, you could teach the hand trick, whether you do it like this or whether you do it like this.
Okay.
But like as they're trying to find, you know, without, obviously, because you're going to teach a lot of without using any autopilot and everything first. You want them to learn how to fly visually.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for their sight picture? You know, they're not always going to have a hand up here, but you can start with them that way. It's like,
Yep.
hey, most people, it's around a fist off the dash. The horizon to the top of your fist
Yep.
should be about straight and level or close to it, and then you're going to correlate from what you see to down here at the VSI. Does it show I'm not climbing or descending, that I'm staying straight and level? Things like that. And then if you're like, if you look down and it shows a negative 150, well then that sight picture doesn't work for you. So just adjust a tiny bit, a degree or two pitch up or down to fine tune that to try to match that VSI to around 0. And then they can build that sight picture for what that looks like for them.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Cool. And then we're just starting to go into Mesquite's airspace, so.
Okay.
Just a quick turn out here.
Okay, cool. Let's jump into some ground reference maneuvers.
Cool.
So teach me a turn around a point.
Yeah.
Or whichever works. If you find a good S-turn spot, then you can do that too.
Okay. All right, so we're about 500 feet. Feet elevation. All right, so we want to be looking at doing our ground ref maneuvers between about 600 to 1,000 AGL. We're going to shoot for that 800. So if we're about 500 feet AGL, we'll go ahead and look for 1,300 on our altimeter. So as we're kind of cruising down.
Oh, you mean 500 elevation?
Oh yeah, what'd I say?
You said AGL.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, field elevation. Yep.
Yeah, so ACS says that we have to be between 600 and 1,000, right?
Yep.
And then for most purposes, we like to just use the 800 AGL.
Yeah.
800 plus the 500 field elevation, you're 1,300. Cool.
Yeah. So as we're cruising down to 1,300 here, we're kind of looking for anything we might be able to use. Essentially, the whole point of this maneuver is to take into consideration any wind adjustments that need to be used as you're kind of maintaining distance and making a circle around a point, for example, turns around a point. So if you have a high ground speed, you'll need a more steeper angle of bank, versus if you're going a little bit slower on the ground, then it's not going to be as aggressive. And so as you're making a full circle around a point, you'll be having moments during the maneuver where you'll have a higher ground speed or a slower ground speed. So being able to adjust based off of where you're at, how your ground speed's doing, and then you're maintaining that equilateral distance around that whole point.
Okay. Do we want to start this in the upwind or the downwind?
So we want to start this in the downwind. So right now we're looking about 1 knot.
Yeah.
Maybe
so
about like 110.
It's not going to make much of a difference today, but let's turn to the left and go kind of south. We're going to need to work that way towards Redbird anyway.
Okay.
Ish. I got a tower there in sight. That's another good thing when you're doing ground reference maneuvers. really teach them situational awareness. They need to be using their single pilot resource management stuff. So here for us, we're kind of lucky to have these screens so that you've got those towers that are on your screen right there.
Yep.
That yellow one, you can see it right there. I've got that inside, eyes outside, looking for traffic. We're outside of the mode C veil, so we need to be really looking for people.
Cool.
Anyway.
Yeah, so I'm looking about 210, I think was what I had before, even though right now looking like we're 6 knots into the upwind.
Yeah, pretty calm this morning, so we'll just kind of roll with it on this heading. It's fine.
All right. All right, so we're looking about 1,300 feet, about 100 knots. And I'm seeing,
That house by itself,
I think,
maybe?
yeah, this guy right here.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting all the way until it crosses. Boom, right there. A-beam the wing.
Yeah, so keep teaching me what you're doing.
Yeah, so basically I'm looking at, my airspeed is looking all right, maybe a little fast, so drop power back a little bit. Still at 1,300. I'm just trying to keep this distance here. And so I'm looking, I have a high ground speed right now, so I'm kind of keeping in a sharper angle of bank here, and just trying to keep that distance the same. So as I'm kind of getting into the headwind, I'm going to start to draw out a little bit of that bank.
Yeah, because that headwind's going to slow your ground speed, right?
Yep.
Yeah, good. Then you can kind of sprinkle in again some ACS standards.
Yeah, so we're looking about plus or minus 10 on the airspeed, and then plus or minus 100 on the altitude.
Good.
And yeah, we're slowing up probably slowest right here. Looking about 98 on the ground speed. And we're starting to get back into that downwind. And we're starting to come up on our 360 point.
And then how do we finish?
And we finish by rolling wings level.
What's your standard there?
Plus or minus 10 on the heading.
Cool. Yeah.
Starting heading, so 210.
Yeah, cool.